Right, so this is a magic fretted guitar. Signature of magic fretting is the double fret here, which does your whole tone. So I've had a prototype of these before using cable ties. This is the first one that's been done professionally fretted. So I got this done at Noiseworks, Coventry, and it's roughly 41 tone equal temperament. It is the existing neck that came with this guitar, and it uses epoxy resin with the sawdust, I think, to fill in the gaps, and that's good enough that he can put all the frets alongside their existing slots, which is good because you don't need to get the neck changed, and getting the fingerboard changed, it's a bit of a waste on a new guitar, and it costs extra. So there was no need for this to force it into 60 tone equal temperament to use the old slots, because he had no trouble getting the new slots in there. So what I'll try to get across in this video is firstly the logic behind the magic fretting, and also the logic behind keeping the guitar in roughly standard tuning as it is now. I probably won't keep it in there. I'll put it in some kind of open tuning, but standard tuning does work. So firstly we'll go to the logic of the fretting. So the idea is, well, with standard tuning there's no particular thing to start with. If you want to play your E chord, the first thing is you these two to get you to E minor, and these are both whole tones. So the open tuning has an A and a D, which you don't have in any kind of E. So you turn the A into a B, you turn the D into an E. And it happens with this particular open string tuning that these are two different whole tones. That's approximate 10-9, that's an approximate 9-8. So the whole tone fret is possibly the most useful one on the neck, because a lot of chords get turned into a lot of the pitches get switched using the whole tone, but also a lot of melody notes shift by the whole tone, and you can basically be a pentatonic. With only the whole tone. And when you're in an just intonation that's not mean tone, you find there are two different whole tones, and this tuning takes account of them by having both of them available. So that's why we have that fret doubled, and a just intonation guitar will probably do the same. And then we have these two frets here, which are both semitones. And so in magic temperament, one semitone is equal to two semitones, which is easy to remember. And the first fret is what's used for sharpening. So So E minor has a G natural, E major has a G sharp. Is that, sorry. That's how you do it. So there's a fret that sharpens things. Same would be true in justination. You'd want a fret which should approximate 25, 24. The other semitone fret approximates 16, 15. And that's where you find a note in your chord that's a semitone off. And we find this in E minor, A minor. So this pitch is B, A minor includes a C. So for the open strings, it's useful to have a fret that sharpens a note, fret that moves it by a diatonic semitone, and then in general you need two frets to move by a whole tone. For more general chords, like if we want the G major, E's getting turned into a G, so you need a minor third. This fret's a minor third, this fret's a major third for completeness, down here, perfect fourth. Then the logic of magic temperament means that the frets are equally spaced. So if you move off the open strings, you can play bar chords and things can still be in tune. So we can get, some kind of major third here. At least we should be able to. Why is that not working? And our magic. So it works out that if you want to get all your chords on and with transpositions, you get away with fewer frets with magic temperament, with a slight loss in accuracy relative to just intonation, which you're probably not going to notice with a normal guitar, because you just can't tune it accurately enough to get true justination out of there. And also these extra frets can be useful. This is a 7/6 fret. Conventional harmony says you don't need that, but the E7 chord can work. And it will also work with a C7 chord. Let's get this right. Should be able to get a bit quicker onto that. So the idea of the magic fretting is lots of simple intervals relative to the open strings, but also some runs of equal spaced frets, so you're still able to transpose. Now you can, if you give up on these, this range of intervals being equal, you can just keep equal frets all the way down. That gives you the kite guitar. You can read about kite guitars. They do work. They work in a different way, and they won't work. Well, they'll be very difficult to get to work starting with standard tuning. You usually put a special tuning on there. So the idea of the magic guitar is that simple things still work, standard things work, some other things can work, and particularly transpositions can work, and that's something that generally didn't work with the cable ties I had before, because the bar chords didn't work, and they should work now. Let's have another go at a major chord. I think that's okay this time. So obviously I'm still learning. It does basically work. Let's talk about the standard tuning then. So the tuning of the guitar is in fourths. For the discontinuities up here, and you get a major third. So you think, well, wouldn't it be simpler to get an isomorphic design if you tune fourths all the way across? That actually causes trouble with microtonal frettings. Firstly, because a fourth tends to go the wrong direction in the harmonic series. Certainly with magic temperament and with mean tone, you generally want to voice chords so the high partials are at the top. The fourths mitigate that, they put them at the bottom. But with magic temperament, it's worse than that, because you never get, you can't get pure equal fourths all the way across, because they're just too complex as a magic interval, and you sort of drop off the edge of the scale. So with here, there is always a bad fourth in there. I think it's this one here. That sounds bad. So really, it's not based on open fourths. What I prefer to think of is the top four strings. And so these make two different triads. We've got a G minor, and what is this one? It's got G, B. That's a G major, isn't it? And so those triads get put together to make a kind of seventh chord, which isn't voiced very well. But I think historically the guitar is based on these four strings. It isn't based on a run of fourths. And then they added strings in fourths to get the rest of it. So from this pattern here, you add a bass string and it's in tune. So that's a logical pattern. You then have this string, which is added to give the equal fourths, and this is trouble with magic temperament. There are two ways of tuning it. The way I'm going for now is the flat tuning, which works better for the open strings. What it does mean is that there isn't like an isomorphic bar chord for the E major shape. So the thing I was trying to play before, I think this is it. It should really be but this note is wrong in that chord, and so there is an alternative tuning that will do that. But what you do is you lose the A shape, and the A shape's quite nice because it gives us a minor seventh chord. And that's another thing that you can put all across. You have to choose a fretting because of the A. So I think I've established the standard tuning is quite good because it gets you close to two different triads, the G major and the E minor. So without much effort, G major across all strings, and E minor across all strings. But the A string is trouble because it needs a compromise. At least you need. There are two different tunings it could have, and so one option that I think is viable is to take a string off. And maybe one day I'll try with that. It's a bit defeatist. And there's a precedent there. Daniel Kachamba had one of his strumming guitars was like that, so he'd use the thumb and his four fingers for chords. So that's wrong, isn't it? That's right. So there you go. But this is the So what's definitely the case with this guitar, you can take your tunes, you can transpose them up and down. You can, with some practice, move your chords up and down. And I won't go through all of that now because I've only had this a day, not practice, and I'm not going to play well when everybody's watching. The problem, as I see, is that although there are lots of chords you can play, I'm not sure about the chord sequences, because when you get to a 2-5-1, and can I commit to that? What is it? A is going to be G, isn't it? There are definitely some 2-5-1 chords using the open strings, but they use both sides of the whole tone split, and that's not going to work if you can't transpose them up and down, or at least you can transpose each of them. I think there are two that will work. You can transpose them to the three different positions where there's a break in the pattern, which gets you a total of 6 keys you can play, which is not very good. And I'm not sure what the solution is to that. I expect that with more work I'll find the ways of playing some more chords, but it's not easy. And it does point to the 2-5-1 pattern not actually being such a good thing for magic temperament. And so if you're working in kind of music that suggests you're transposing up your 2-5-1s up and down, it's probably not the best guitar. It might work better with a kite guitar, or it may be give up on chords and play the melodies, because a lot of what the notes you want are going to be there, and possibly allow some of those notes to be out of tune and treated as a 19-tone guitar, where certain key chords are going to be well in tune. Oh, another thing is some chords get difficult because the frets are narrower, rather than because you can't actually play them, which is a case for, I know, the A shape here. I don't know if you see there. I've got I always play it with sort of 3 fingers like that, because there's less space than there normally is to play that, and that gets harder as you go down. And it gets harder still if you're supposed to be fretting a chord up here and then getting your 3 fingers in underneath it. So basically it doesn't. I don't get that with all my fingers. So it's not even as simple at that point as you take the chords you know with your 12 equal guitar and play them on this neck. The translation to 19 tones loses some playability, and then the translation to magic temperament means some of the chords you'd like to play end up slightly out of tune, and you have to decide what to do about that. But I think this still does cover the basic criteria that simple things still work. Your basic 4 chords in G and simple things in keys like E and D are still going to work. You get some transposition, and you get lots of other ideas across the neck. And there are stuff like 11 limit chords hiding that I haven't worked out, and a few 7 limit chords. Such as the A's actually I haven't covered that. The A shape here, well, it's actually A minor. You can move that down to be A sub minor. And so there are lots of positions you can play that if you can get your fingers in. But it gets harder because it's the same as with the full A. There's not so much space to put your last 2 fingers in there. So hang on, let's have a drink. So that's probably what I wanted to say. There we go. This is the first presentation of the new guitar. Sure, there will be more about it. It is exciting. Although obviously the immediate problem is it opens up lots of chords that I can't play, and so it is definitely harder to play than equal temperaments. We'll have to see how many keys or it can be made to work in, or how much music in things like keys you can adapt to it. But there we are. So I'll play it a bit, and then and you can go back to your cat videos or whatever you've been doing.